Welcome you here tonight all at the Jewish Museum in Frankfurt. My name is Irene David and I'm the director of the Leo Baeck Institute in Jerusalem. So I'm really glad, and I spoke with Abigail Gilman in the afternoon, and she really said it's like a little wonder that we are coming together, but because it was not so easy to convene. We originally planned and very much wanted to have this conference actually in Israel. We wanted to plan it after the holidays last year, and then it was clear we cannot invite international scholars to such a conference to Israel in the last autumn. We did not expect that we are in the current situation, but I'm really very thankful to Mirjam, Wenzel and the team here at the Jewish Museum that could meet here and can meet here. Founded in 1904 in Berlin by Bertha Pappenheim, Henriette May and Sidonie Werner, the Frauenbund acted as independent movement in the Jewish tradition and was stemming and being part of the general women's movement in Germany until 1938, when it was closed down by the National Socialists. In the next 3 days, we will learn more about the personalities, ideas, and ambitions, communication of the Circle of Jewish Women. And it was not only once in the preparation of the conference that we were also thinking about the current situation and the mess we are in, and the many difficult questions and political questions of anti-liberal, anti-feminist forces that are currently in power. This conference was initiative of Dr. Nathalie Neiman-Goldberg, and I warmly want to thank her for this. Nathalie is a scholar of German Jewish history, especially women's history, and she's been working intensively on Bertha Pappenheim. Thanks to her, we have a book with many texts of Bertha Pappenheim in Hebrew now. She annotated the book and made the selection, which is really great. And she worked also on many other feminist women of Pappenheim's generation, but also on Jewish women during the Enlightenment. And together with her and Dr. Kim Wünschmann, Dr. Anna Dorothea Ludewig and Professor Abigail Gilman, who served all as members of the steering committee, we organized this conference jointly. As I said already, we're very thankful for the cooperation here with the Jewish Museum and also the institutional support of the Hamburg Institute for the History of German Jews, the Moses Mendelssohn Center for European Jewish Studies and the University of Potsdam, and the support of the scientific working group of the Leo Baeck Institute in Germany. Our conversation about this conference started back in 2022. And again, it was very important actually for us to bring this conversation also to an Israeli audience. We often realize little is known. So I'm very glad that we managed to organize also recording of these lectures today. The lectures will be online afterwards, obviously only of those that agreed that we can record the public and publish the things afterwards. So thanks for that. And I also want to thank our more local partners when we decided to come to Frankfurt. This is especially the Zentralrat der Juden, and I'm very glad and thankful to Professor Dr. Doron Kiesel, and I'm also glad that Sabina Donat is tonight on the panel here with us. Thanks for the support. And also the Buber Rosenzweig Institute at Frankfurt University, Professor Christian Wiese and Dr. Judith Müller. Dr. Judith Müller is here. He is unfortunately ill, to my regret, and can't be with us during this conference. Tonight, we will first have the greetings of our cooperation partners and colleagues in Frankfurt on the program. And I would kindly ask, first of all, that Professor Mirjam Wenzel comes up to the microphone, please.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the Jewish Museum. I'm really delighted that we can host this conference. I wasn't aware of the story behind the moment when you asked me, but as you might be aware, we are the Jewish Museum at Bertha Pappenheim Square, and we are very happy to have this address, which was, by the way, suggested by one of our visitors in the process of our renewal, when we were closed, we were asking what should be the address of the new Jewish museum. And somebody suggested Berta Pappenheim, and she got the most votes. And that's why we made it happen. And since then, we feel committed to her heritage here in Frankfurt to make it more known. We collaborated, for instance, with the Institute for Jewish Studies, where I'm teaching, which launched an app on Berta Pappenheim and her traces in the town. That's one thing, and she also played a crucial role in our first changing exhibition that we presented here, which was called The Female Side of God, which might be interesting in the frame of this conference too. I'm really looking forward to the next upcoming 3 days. I'm trying, or 2.5 days, and I'm trying to join you from time to time. We feel really committed to, let's say, new perspectives and challenging perspectives, feminist perspective, queer feminist perspective on Jewish history and culture. We are offering every 3 months a queer feminist tour as an intervention in our permanent exhibition. So the perspective that you might be discussing and raising are very dear to us and to me personally too. Welcome to the Jewish Museum, and I wish you a pleasant, inspiring, and empowering conference.
Thank you. The next that I would like to invite is Dr. Kim Wünschmann, the director of the Institute for the History of the German Jews in Hamburg.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. On behalf of the Institute for the History of the German Jews in Hamburg, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you. It is our great pleasure to co-host this important conference on the Jüdische Frauenbund, and we really embrace the opportunity of the 120th jubilee of its organization's foundation in 1904 to reflect tonight and in the coming days on Jewish feminism, on the political and social work of Jewish women, past and present. And indeed, this is an intriguing and a very rich history. Together with scholars, many here in the audience tonight, our institute in Hamburg follows the tradition, I could say, of adopting women's perspectives in historical inquiry and of writing female and also gendered experiences into German Jewish history. From the edited volume Deutsch-Jüdische Geschichte als Geschlechtergeschichte, dating from the early 2000s, to the recently published online exhibition Frauenleben, and I should say a graphic novel that uses the memoirs of Glicke von Hameln that was just published a few days ago, we put Jewish perspectives center stage, and we discuss Jewish women's diverse activities in politics, society, the economy, culture, and family. In scholarship at large, a recognition of female impacts on all areas of life are by now studied in many spheres, which are no longer thought of in the binary separation between the public and the private. The diversity of Jewish lives, past and present, finds its expression in a multitude of female roles and indeed many role models. Our conference aims to shed new light on various aspects of the JFB's history, including the lives and works of its leaders, and I'm looking forward to learn more about Berta Pappenheim, about Paula Ollendorf, Sidonie Werner, and others. And Sidonie Werner, a teacher and a feminist, was based in Hamburg, so allow me to briefly reflect on her achievements. Before co-founding the Jüdische Frauenbund, Sidonie Werner helped to establish the Israelite Humanitarian Women's Association, the Israelitische Humanitärer Frauenverein, founded in Hamburg in 1893. Following the example of the General Association of German Women, the Israelite Humanitarian Women's Association only admitted women as full members. And this created a kind of protected space, we would say today, for Jewish women to discuss their interests and their issues. and expand their organizational skills and professional ambitions. Under Werner's leadership, the association developed numerous social activities for children, young people, and women. In 1909, for example, an employment agency for women was set up in order to reduce poverty among women. A project for women, run by women. It proved very successful. And the Israelite boarding house for girls opened in Hamburg in the same year, in 1909. In addition to her social work, Sidonie Weaver was particularly active in the fight for women's rights. She campaigned for women's suffrage and fought against the trafficking of girls. In 1915, Werner was involved in the founding of the Stadtbund Hamburgischer Frauenvereine. In 1917, she became a member of the board of the Central Welfare Organization of German Jews. In 1918, the only woman on the board of the Hamburg Jewish School Association. And in 1929, she organized the World Conference of Jewish Women to take place in Hamburg. The existing and lively exchange of ideas between the general and the Jewish women's movement was based on strong personal ties. One of the founding members in 1865 of the German General Women's Association was Henriette Goldschmidt, wife of Leipzig Rabbi Abraham Meyer Goldschmidt. Johanna Goldschmidt, a Jewish pedagogue in Hamburg, had connections to activists in the middle-class women's movement going as far back as to the revolution of 1848-49. Berta Pappenheim, too, had been active in the German General Women's Association in the Frankfurt chapter since 1895. Research has found that Jewish women's interest in the broadest possible cooperation was not always answered with mutual interest from their non-Jewish counterparts. There is, I think, also a history of disappointed hopes in solidarity and sisterhood, which needs to be addressed at our conference. We can ask, what could a cross-denominational fight for women's rights have looked like, and how effective could it have been if Christian activists would have fully embraced and supported their Jewish partners? The 120th anniversary of the founding of the JFB also offers a valuable opportunity to build bridges to our own present day. A present day in which the struggle for the rights of women, Jewish and non-Jewish alike, remains urgent. Today, we continue to discuss female representation in Judaism, the commitment of Jewish women in social, political, and cultural work, as well as experiences of interreligious and international cooperation against discrimination and for the protection of girls and women. Sadly, the question of female solidarity and lack of sisterhood and support also remains a burning one. I'm wishing us many stimulating and interesting discussions in a productive conference, and I would like to thank my colleagues on the organizational board, the Jewish Museum here in Hamburg, and I would like to encourage you to, together with me, give a particular thanks to Irene Auer-Ben-David and Natalie Neimer-Goldmark, who are really the powerhouse behind this event tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kim. I would now like to invite Professor Doron Kiesel, the Academic Director of the Bildungsabteilung of the Zentralrat here in Frankfurt. Please.
Ladies and, where are they? Gentlemen, okay. I'm not alone, that's a good feeling. Yeah. It's a special honor for me to welcome you to this conference on revisiting Jewish feminism. The Jewish Frauenbund, a contemporary perspective. Together today, we look back on a movement that not only had a lasting impact on the rights and self-image of Jewish women in Germany, but also made an important contribution to Jewish educational work. The Jewish Women's Association, founded in 1904 by Bertha Pappenheim and other visionary women, was more than just a women's organization. It worked to improve the social situation of Jewish women, offered educational opportunities, and promoted the self-confidence of Jewish girls and women. Through its educational initiatives, the Frauenbund made a decisive contribution to preserving Jewish values and traditions, while at the same time promoting social reform. Even today, this achievement is of great importance when we deal with the promotion of Jewish identity and intercultural dialogue. I suppose you heard we are going to found a Jewish Academy in Frankfurt am Main. And the Jewish Academy, which is currently being built in Frankfurt and will open in 2025, has a responsibility today to take up this feminist tradition and continue in a contemporary context. It can serve as a platform that enables Jewish women to raise their voices in society and contribute to historiography and current debates. The Academy has the opportunity to increasingly integrate topics such as Jewish feminism and the history of Jewish women's movements into its educational work in order to promote awareness of these important aspects within the community. One of the key challenges is to integrate feminist and intersectional perspective into Jewish educational and research. The Jewish Academy can act as a bridge here and create space for critical discourse that addresses issues such as equality, diversity, and inclusion. This can be done through lecture series, workshops, and research projects that specifically address the experiences and concerns of Jewish women in the past and present. Another important step is to support young women and establish mentorship programs that encourage Jewish women to actively participate in social and political processes. The Jewish Academy can act as a network that connects Jewish women and provides them with resources and platforms to share and develop their ideas and perspectives. Furthermore, it is important that the Jewish Academy promotes dialogue between different generations and currents within Jewish feminism. This enables a discussion of different experiences and perspectives and helps to strengthen a dynamic of vibrant Jewish feminist movement. In this way, the Academy can contribute to transferring the Jewish Women's Federation's vision of a just and inclusive society to the challenges of our time. May this conference encourage us to recognize the contribution of the Jewish Women's Federation to Jewish education and equality, and to reflect on current developments in light of these historical achievements. Let us work together to ensure that Jewish feminism continues to be an important part of educational work and creates a basis for respect and mutual understanding. With this in mind, I wish you and us an inspiring and enriching conference. Thank you very much. I would like to add that my colleague, Sabina Donat, she will be together with me. We are co-director. We are a double team of directors of the Jewish Academy. She's since a lot of years, Sabina will tell it some hours later in the panel, she's since a lot of years, she's dealing with these subjects and problems and the challenges of the work with young Jewish women. And I think we already, until now, put the first steps into this direction. So we are looking forward to work together with you and to continue this kind of work with this, for the Academy, very important. Thank you, and a lot of fun and interesting discussions. No.
And last but not least, I now would like to invite Professor Bettina Kleiner, the head of the Department of Gender Studies at Frankfurt University. Schön, dass es jetzt auch bekam. Genau, dass ich das kurz an. Ja.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to express how much I feel honored and that it is my great pleasure to be invited to speak a greeting in my capacity as Managing Director of the Cornelia Goethe Center for Gender Studies on the occasion of this very important conference at the Jewish Museum. The Jüdische Frauenbund and Berta Pappenheim as its emblematic founder stand for a long tradition of Jewish life in Frankfurt and at the same time for a long tradition of feminisms here. Looking at the history of the Jüdische Frauenbund thus provides insights into the history of modern Jewish life and also into the history of the broader German women's movement, Jewish and non-Jewish. Thinking Jewish and non-Jewish history together seems obvious, but has not always happened. As Marion Kaplan, and I've already seen her here, has written in her very important book on the Jewish women's movement in Germany, published in 1981, so prominently, and I quote, "Studies on the German women's movement had not taken Jewish women into account, and historians who had researched German Jewish history usually did so with a focus on men. However, this obviously is a more common problem within historiography as such." Against this background, the papers on this conference are important exactly because they will provide broader insights into Jewish history, life, and feminism. Feminisms have always been diverse, and it is my understanding that there were common grounds and similarities, but also differences between Jewish feminism and the non-Jewish women's movement at that time. While both advocated and fought, for example, and Kim Wünschmann has already said that, while both advocated and fought, for example, for social equality between men and women, the importance of Jewish religion made a difference between the movements, as did the scandalous anti-Semitism of some actors within the German non-Jewish movement. A dominant focus of Berta Pappenheim's work has been the fight and the international organizing against trafficking of girls and prostitution, especially against sexualized violence done to young women. This has given her a pioneering role in a fight that, unfortunately, is still one of the central concerns of feminist debate these days, although, of course, the conditions have changed. The topic of this conference speaks therefore very much to current debates and research in gender studies for many reasons. It connects well to various threads in gender research that are being pursued at the Cornelia Goethe Center, or CGC as we call it endearingly. The CGC is an interdisciplinary center for research, teaching, and the support of early career researchers at Goethe University am Main. There, different disciplines and status groups cooperate, and our members represent diverse approaches to gender and sexuality. Just to name a few of the threads that connect us at the CGC with the topics of this conference. We cooperated with Rebecca Voss and Iliana Renner in her project Tracking the Traffic, the Berta Pappenheim app, during which a professional app was developed that visualized history artistically and makes Berta Pappenheim's work tangible in public spaces in Frankfurt. In this context, we co-organized the event Tracking the Traffic, a Berta Pappenheim evening that presented some of the results of the project with Elisabeth Loenz, Gudrun Meyerhoff, Rebecca Voss, and Iliana Renner. Also, we contributed to making Jewish women's histories tangible in public space by our involvement in naming the new streets on Campus West End when Goethe University opened a new campus. 2 of our proposals were accepted and resulted from this process. The naming of the Giselle Freund-Platz after the French-German photographer and photojournalist Giselle Freund, and the naming of the Nina Rubinstein Weg after the US-American sociologist Nina Rubinstein. Both had studied with Karl Mannheim at Goethe University, but had to flee the Nazi regime. They could finalize their dissertations at Goethe University only much later. Just in May this year, we hosted a workshop on images or body images of Jewishness in art and media for early career researchers in gender studies by Veronique Sina, who works on queering Jewishness and Jewish queerness and is also part of this conference. We are planning further collaborations in the field of Jewishness, anti-Semitism, and gender, like the Cornelia Goethe lectures next summer on a topic in the field of anti-Semitism and racism, and a lecture series in winter 25-26 that is conceptualized by Veronika Duma, who is postdoc at the chair for the history and impact of the Holocaust. She will organize sessions that look historically and from a gender historical perspective on how democracy has been under threat and how resistance can be organized. Hopefully, we can strengthen such cooperation and conversation, and perhaps the discussions and meetings at this conference will contribute to this. I wish us all a very inspiring and fruitful conference. I myself am very much looking forward to this evening's lectures and discussions. Thank you so much.